It is Monday on Daily Delivery. Michael Rand here. Patrick Reusse joins me as usual. Patrick, before we began recording, I was having a hard time discerning which one of the major football teams in town was more disappointing this weekend. But it was two completely different games when the Vikings lose 40-3 and the Gophers lose 13-10 to Iowa. Disappointing in their own ways. We'll cover that ground for sure for the bulk of this show. I want to talk Twins with you as well. We were both out at the New Jersey unveiling on Friday, but by the end of the day, some of the actual baseball moves they'd made were probably just as interesting, if not more. And we'll see what we have time for at the end of the show. I don't think I'm going to get your burning hot takes predictions on US v Wales at 1 p.m. today, so maybe we can skip over that. But Vikings, Patrick, I do think we got to start there just because of how bad that was. And it's like everything you worried about with this team all year happening in one game, right? O'Connell looked like he was a little bit of a deer in the headlights, couldn't get anything going in terms of whatever it was, motivation, coaching, schemes, whatever it was, injuries catching up to them, an opponent who's just, got more juice on the offensive and defensive lines. And Cousins just getting pressured so much that he can't do anything. I mean, it was 3-3 for a little while there. And then my wife and daughter went shopping and they came home and I said, well, the Vikings still have 3, but Dallas now has 40. And there it was.
Yeah, it was one of the great beatings of all time. And offensively, it only started on their first play when Micah had a free run at Cousins and dang near killed him, and it was amazing. That's of all the offensive line issues that have been here since Cousins played, that because Cousins became the quarterback, that was the worst. I mean, that was just it was a jailbreak. And with I saw Swin's thing today. 6 of the 7 sacks were with a 4-man rush.
Yes.
That was the other thing. They weren't sending anybody. They just did it with their
right.
4 guys up front. But they got about 7 or 8 of them. They run them off the bench, and they got some athletes, man. And they just, you lost Darrisaw, who probably shouldn't have been playing because he had a concussion last week. And now he's back. You won't see him for a while. And the NFL is going to take a close look at this one because, you let him come back a week later after he was out with a concussion. He gets another one real quick. But when he doesn't play, they have no left tackle. Cleveland left for a while. They still have Ed Ingram in there trying to, and whoever else. It was a jailbreak for the Cousins. That's as bad as he's ever looked. He was trying to hold the ball a little bit and get it downfield to Jefferson and Thielen, and there was no chance to do that. But I got contemplative about 9:30 last night. I was watching something. I was saying, this is why sports is wonderful. Because a week ago, we almost went out and greeted them at the airport. One of the great victories in franchise history. Right? I mean, same team, same guys.
Right.
Fighting. They fight to the end. One thing we know about these Vikings, they fight to the end. If they would have had their choice, they would have left and never came back in the middle of the second quarter yesterday. It was just a beating of, I wasn't there, but you could see that they were showing the skull thing before the game, and the crowd couldn't have been more festive. And then you end up just getting hammered. And, I kind of thought, okay, Dallas just lost to Green Bay, by the way.
Yes. By the way,
Dallas just lost to Green Bay, by the way.
Just gave up, 31 points, I think. Yeah.
Yes, to Green Bay. And so that's what I say about sports. We always know what's going to happen unless it doesn't. And that was exactly what we saw yesterday. But there's they got injuries now. They haven't had many injuries this year at all. Now they got injuries. They got one on the offensive line, at least 2, and one very important one on the offensive line. And the secondary, this Andrew Booth is he had no chance. He had no idea what he was doing. and they suckered him in. And then we got a defense that thinks it's a good idea to have Jordan Hicks chasing Tony Pollard down
that
the
play.
sideline. What is that isn't Jordan Hicks's fault.
No.
That isn't his fault.
That isn't Schnelker's fault. Yeah.
He's not supposed to be chasing that guy down the field.
No.
But what a beating. And now, okay, everybody's, the New England's red hot too. They're coming in. New England needed an 85-yard punt return to get to 10 points on virtually the last play of the game. It was 3 for 3. They're playing great defense, but their offense stinks. So, they're not going to come in here and beat up the Vikings the way the Dallas did, because they don't have that kind of athletes. They don't have great athletes. But the Vikings are, if their offensive line is all beat to hell, Belichick's home right now, figuring out what they're going to do with Darrisaw not playing left tackle. So that'll be a 17-13 game, I think, and it's not going to be a beating. But you don't want to, after a performance like that and the leaks that were showing, you don't want to be playing Belichick, because he, whatever you say about him and not being as good as they used to be, he's still the all-time coaching genius in the history of man, as far as I'm concerned. So he'll come up with something for him, and it's going to be tough Thursday, and it'll be interesting. If the kid coach comes up with it's not getting fired up. You got a plan. You're going to have a plan here. What are you going to do to move the ball? What are you going to do to move the ball? So,
anyway. In years past, they've tried to move the pocket around. They've done a lot of different things when the offensive line has been bad. And, in this year, in a lot of games, it had been better, especially when Darrisaw was healthy. I wouldn't say it was a great line by any stretch, but it was at least an adequate line in a lot of their wins this year, giving Cousins at least enough time to get throws off. There just wasn't that. He was pressured on, I think, more than 60% of his dropbacks, which is like a career high easily. Yeah. And so, he just had nowhere to go with the ball. Like you said, 6 out of the 7 sacks were with 4-man front. So there's 7 guys back there, defending the pass. There's nowhere to go with the ball. I mean, when you can get pressure with 4 like that, that's kind of the death knell in the NBA, in the NFL.
Let me ask you one other thing, Mike, is O'Neal got run over a few times.
Yes, he did.
On the other side, which is, there's your strength right there. There's your man. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
No, that's a good point. I mean, there's nobody on the line played well in this game. And I did see after the game, O'Connell said the injury to Cleveland doesn't sound like it's anything serious, and they've been pretty forthright with injuries this year. So we'll see about him. And there was really no need to push anybody at a certain point in that game. I was calling for them to take Cousins out like midway through the third quarter. I'm like, this game's over. Like you just look at it, it's like there's no way they're coming back against this team with this pass rush, bowling them over so much. But it is more than just the pass rush. So like you said, it's the secondary with the injuries now with both Cameron Dantzler. We never knew how much we'd miss a Caleb Evans, a guy that I had not even paid a single bit of attention to before the season started. Didn't know how much we'd miss him. And it's still the defensive line with Dalvin Tomlinson being out for these past few games. They've gotten away with it, but they're giving up a ton of rushing yards with him out. And again, yesterday, they couldn't stop anybody on the ground, through the air. I mean, it was just everything you worried about at the beginning of the year, especially in terms of depth, that's starting to come to fruition. And now you're right. They've got to play New England, which is not a great team, but has a great defense. I think it's the Jets after that. And that's another team with a good front four. I mean, it'll get easier in terms of front four as the year goes on, but every team now is they know how to beat the Vikings if they can. It's still the same formula. Get after Cousins and rattle him. And he clearly was trying yesterday, but just had nothing.
Take a playcation to Mystic Lake. With 24/7 gaming, the good times never have to end. And you can satisfy your cravings at our restaurants and bars. Or relax in one of our luxurious hotel rooms. Those that play together, stay together. And don't forget to join Club M so you can spark new memories and bask in the rewards along the way. Follow the lights to Mystic Lake, where every day is play day.
Brady, Marino, whoever you want to name would have had no chance yesterday. That was not a Cousins problem yesterday. That was a how in the hell am I going to get out of here alive problem. It was pretty amazing. Well, that Micah Parsons is something. Whoo, man!
Oh yeah,
How about him going? How about him being so sack hungry? He gets hurt. And he comes back into the game.
yes,
Still looking for sacks. Well, why doesn't McCarthy say no? You can't play. They got a game Thursday too.
yeah. These guys, I'm sure they've got like performance bonuses and hunting their numbers. Yeah,
that guy doesn't need a performance bonus because
no.
you're gonna have to pay him whatever he wants.
Yes,
unbelievable. He's the best. He's past Donald. I think is the best defensive lineman. But he's kind of a hybrid. But
right.
He's something. What an athlete.
So
they got athletes, man. I remember I saw in the opening game of the season. They were so bad. It was incredible. I thought they stink. Now you look at him in the NFC. They got the best personnel. Whether they relate that, but here's one big problem they got. They're paying an ungodly amount of money to Zeke, who is not in the same planet as Tony Pollard.
No, Pollard's great. Jeez.
Yeah.
Zeke is still useful in some situations, but Pollard, man, he's a game breaker. I mean, especially against that team yesterday, they couldn't cover him, and that's another big problem too. Like even the defense just looked slow yesterday, and that's been a thing for some games this year too. And so now you look at it, and it's weird because every season, even Super Bowl seasons, a lot of times have clunkers, right? I mean, there's you saw people suddenly coming up with evidence. Like I think Tampa Bay a couple of years ago when they won the Super Bowl, I think they lost a game like 38-3. So, it's not like you can't have a game like this and still rebound. But the way they lost, I mean, now I saw Seifert's tweet. I told you about this earlier. Vikings, the first team in NFL history to be 8-2 or better through 10 games and have a negative point differential. They're -2 on the season because their wins were a lot of them were close and their losses were 17 and 37 points. So now, if you're them, that's got to cause some self-doubt when you lose like this. I mean, they've got to be, they've got to be wondering, where do we go from here? Still 7 games left, still 4 games up in this terrible division, but where do they go from here?
Yeah, well, they gotta, right now, I've always said that offensive line to me is the indication you're really good teams always have good offensive line. And if if they end up with whatever his name is, Brandle or
Blake Brandle,
left tackle, that's not functional. That's not going to be that. That guy had no idea what the hell he was doing. He was
which was wild because in the Bills game he was really good, but again, that's in relief and that's a smaller sample.
Yeah, but and again, he's half the time he's trying to block Micah, which is impossible. Right. But yeah, I mean, now it all depends upon whether they can slap that offensive line back together. In my opinion, you got Jefferson, and you got the new tight end who hasn't had much influence yet, but these weapons do you no good if the quarterback, when he turns around, there's 2 guys about to kill him.
Yes.
So to me, that's if they can. I know one thing: they aren't going to win a brain contest with Belichick. Okay, they're not going to. But if they can get their basics back on the offense and give Cousins time, then they'll be fine. But the other good thing is, they got to win one more game to win the division, right?
Yeah, 1 or 2. Yeah, it's.
I don't even think they don't have to win 2. Nobody's getting 9 in the division.
You see who's in second place now?
Yeah, our Lions.
Detroit, 3 wins in a row, baby.
Win in a row, and if they hadn't puked like four away, they'd be right there with us.
Yes.
You got to give that crazy son of a gun credit. They show up and play every week.
Yes, they do.
Took some of the worst losses in the history of football, but yeah, they're second for sure. And but that's not a real challenge. But you just mentioned it. Okay, if the Patriots come in here and they beat them 17-10 or something.
Yeah.
At the Jets coming in there rushing them, they all of a sudden what looked like a very doable schedule becomes you're ending up, you end up at a 4 seed playing a 5 at home. That's not going to be good, right? If they end up now 11-6 or something like that,
Right.
and then you end up with the division team with the 4th best record, that won't be good. So they got to, they were sitting there pretty contending for the number 1 seed, and now, yeah, it was just a beating of unbelievable proportions. It's worst ever, and everybody used this, the worst ever in the city limits of Minneapolis.
Yeah.
So it was
right.
Also, by the way, I don't know if anybody made a big thing about this. It was the what is it? The Dallas's largest margin of victory ever in a road game, I think.
Okay, and it said it was the Vikings' worst home loss in 59 years. So you got that going for them.
63 seasons. They came in 1 year before us. It's their largest margin of victory in a road game. So
amazing.
Yeah. Anyway,
stood in stark contrast to Saturday's Gophers loss to Iowa. I mean, Gophers ran for how many yards? Over 300 yards. Mo had almost 300 by himself, but again, it's this combination of not making plays when it matters most and being probably too conservative. And this is the PJ Fleck era. It just drives me crazy that they can't or won't throw the ball until it's absolutely necessary. And when you do that, you don't have the reps, you don't have the confidence to make those plays. And so you get in a situation where it's 10-10, you're driving down, you got 3rd and 7 from the 33. You're going into the wind. You don't really have much of an option here, right? If you run the ball, you're probably not going to get the first down. Everybody thinks, okay, they got to throw here. And a lot of good teams, you know what? They can get 7 yards in that situation because they've practiced it. And instead, their freshman throws an interception that leads to the game-winning field goal for Iowa. But it just drives me crazy. Like PJ Fleck, and I made this point on Twitter, as much as he is a motivator and a completely different person than Mike Zimmer, he's the exact same game coach as Zimmer, and that's why he drives people crazy.
Yeah, or worse. I mean, Zim was not as anti-pass as this guy. Well, in Abraham's fumble, that was his 14th carry of the drive.
Yes. Maybe he was a little tired.
Yeah, what the hell? Why is he scared to death to let this quarterback try to do anything? It's unbelievable. Here, go out there and get him, son. You have a fantastic future. You're going to take us to some big bowl games, but today, don't try to throw a pass. Whatever
right.
you,
right.
Just you're playing into Iowa's hands, right? Iowa cannot, try to get both teams going up and down the field. You'll beat Iowa if you get them, if you loosen up the game, right?
Yes.
Iowa's god awful. The quarterback is pathetic, and
they made him look pretty good Saturday.
Well, only the one guy dropped the ball, and then the other one is he did throw the nice pass to the tight end down the middle, but beyond that, I mean that's Iowa had what? They had 10 yards in the second half.
Yeah, they had nothing. They were getting nothing going.
They had nothing going. They might, if they beat Nebraska, we're going to send that.
Yes, I know.
To the Big Ten championship game.
It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
Because in Iowa, they want, even Iowa, which, Ferentz has been there forever, they wanted to run both of them out of town. Most of them, early in the season, and now they're going to win this pathetic. I mean, here's the bottom line. It'll never, with UCLA and Southern Cal coming in and blah, 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 it was there on a big platter for people. And now, if they lose Saturday at Wisconsin, and I said this on Twitter, if they lose Saturday at Wisconsin, they will go under 500 in the Big Ten in the easiest schedule the Gophers have ever had in the Big Ten.
Yes.
At least going back to when the Germans surrendered. And I had people say, which war? And that's a question. But They have never had a schedule like this.
No,
They did not have Michigan. They did not have Ohio State. You can't find a Gopher schedule
no.
ever that didn't have Michigan until about 1995. So,
Yes.
okay, this is the easiest schedule in the easiest West of all time, and they puked it away.
Yes.
So they played Purdue like idiots. They didn't go out and try to take advantage of that.
Nope.
They played, Illinois was probably better than them, maybe. But
Illinois lost 3 in a row now, so
yeah.
How good are they?
Did you see Bielema? He basically just come out and said the Big Ten is fixed. Did you?
I didn't see that.
That's funny. Yeah, he basically said they know who they want to win or something.
Wow.
Because there were some shaky calls at the end of that thing.
Okay. But they wanted Michigan and Ohio State to be undefeated when they played each other, probably.
That's basically what he said. And it was funny because Gopher fans hate Bielema, but they sided with him on that. But that was an awful loss. I had much worse loss than the Vikings loss as far as big picture.
Oh yeah, I mean they still had a shot at a shot at the Big Ten. I mean they would need Wisconsin
they would have had to beat Wisconsin, and they would have Indiana to beat Purdue. Well, Purdue damn near lost to Northwestern and at home, and Indiana just rallied to beat Michigan State.
Right.
So this is the old Oaken bucket. They'll be all fired up for Saturday.
Yes, that one's possible.
That would have been possible, and then you did this. By the way, they got away. That Campbell brought that pass back for a touchdown, and they didn't. They said he was out of bounds, but he wasn't.
I don't think he was either. It was close. I don't think he was, but I think that's one where you can't. If they blew it dead at the point,
review it.
What's that?
Why don't they let them review it? Because then people stop playing. Or
I think because they blew it dead there. That if you blow the whistle there because you say he's out of bounds, you can't then say.
How long did it take? Because it didn't seem like it was instant.
After like 10 or 15 yards of him running down the field, it looked like people weren't chasing him anymore. So that must be it. Like you can't, if you blow it dead, then you can't expect people to keep playing through it. If they would have, you can reverse it the other way. If he ran it back for a touchdown and then he turned out he stepped out, then you can call him out there. But I don't think you can do it the other way.
On the site, and you know what the rule is. How can you call that? Who cares?
Right. They got it anyway. But
the Gophers would have been better off if he'd scored, because then they would have had 2 minutes to not do anything offensively.
Well, and your point's a great one. Like I'm going to write about this, I think this morning, just the regret for not taking advantage of this season, because, you're right. UCLA and USC coming in 2024 and next year. I took a quick peek ahead because Randy Johnson had written about how coming into this game, the Gophers 7 wins were against teams with a combined 18-58 record. And their losses were against teams that were combined 30-14. And now add to that the Iowa game, another team with the winning record. Next year doesn't start out that daunting. Their first 5 are against Nebraska, Eastern Michigan, North Carolina, Northwestern, and Louisiana Lafayette. Now, North Carolina's 9-2 this year. They're pretty good, but they just lost on Saturday too to someone not that great. Eastern Michigan 7-4, so at least a little bit better. Non-conference competition. The last 7 games of the year: Michigan, Iowa, Michigan State, Illinois, Purdue, Ohio State, Wisconsin.
Yeah. It's they get them both next year, Michigan and Ohio State. I mean, I think 2 of Iowa's losses are Michigan, Ohio State, right?
Yeah, so, and you can't expect Iowa and Wisconsin to be as bad next year, even if they might be. You can't expect it.
No, and Nebraska's going to have a new coach, so
yes.
And he's got to be better than what they've had. But of course, they'll probably screw that higher up anyway. But yeah, this was it. This was it. And by the way, I'm getting sick of people telling me that this all started when I jumped on the bandwagon.
Yeah, it's right. It's not right.
I jumped on the bandwagon 48 hours before they beat Michigan State.
Yes.
30-6-7 or whatever it was.
Yeah, 34-7, something like that. Yeah.
Guys, you all go back and look at your projections, wondering if they could actually go 12-0 if they could win that Penn State game. So that was not. Then they started coaching very conservatively
Yes.
offense. And what's with the new, I mean, go back and Chip wrote a column about how much better the offense looked with the Soroka back.
Chiraka, yeah.
Chiraka back. And then what happened? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know either.
Excuse me, I had a cough there. Okay. Anyway.
No, that's okay.
Stop thinking about Fleck's offense. I got
allergic to PJ's conservative approach.
What's he afraid of?
He's been like that for a long time. That's just how he,
you know. Him in the game. I mean, even when they're playing Bowling Green, right? Last year.
And you know what it is?
We're in a slugfest with Bowling Green.
It's
superior athletes to run past them.
It's a great way to beat a bad team, and it's a great way to lose to a good team, because you got to take advantage more of opportunities. You got to open it up a little bit and be willing to take, not even like risks, just like throw the ball, like empower your quarterback to make a play, especially a guy who actually can make a play.
We think. We don't know.
We don't know that for sure, but he at least has the threat of running or passing, and he's you see him throw the ball. Looks like he can throw the ball. He's got some zip on the passes.
You let Tanner play the last one?
I don't know.
For all his years of service, or not?
It doesn't even really matter at this point. Like, does anybody even care what happens at Wisconsin now? I mean, maybe mildly, but
winning the Axe is not a very good consolation prize for this.
Not this year. Not this year.
And by the way, I see they signed another 3-star from Texas they beat out Abilene Christian or somebody for him. They're now standing. They were 55th in recruiting last year, and they're 49th now. What has happened there? What is that was his deal. They were in the low 30s a couple of years ago. What's happened to their recruiting? That's weird.
I wonder. Yeah, the portal. They've been focusing a little bit on the portal, but I don't know how much that does for.
Yeah. So anyway, that was just a brutal game to lose.
Brutal season.
I was terrible offensively. Terrible. I always had like the stud tight end and the great running back, and they don't have either of those this year.
And their quarterback. I mean, his numbers were fine the other day, but he doesn't scare you. Defense is great, but But that wasn't the problem. The Gophers got like 400 yards. They ran the ball whenever they wanted to, and they still didn't win that game.
10 points, 400 yards and 10 points. That's impossible.
300 yards rushing. I mean, they had the ball for almost the whole game.
Yeah, which, Mace lost some terrible games when his team rushed for 300 yards, but those were 31-28. They weren't 13-10. So
people are starting to draw the inevitable comparisons between Fleck and Mace, by the way,
because he peaked, but Mace's peak lasted a little longer, right? Mace had about 3 really good years in a row, right? This guy had.
I can't remember if he had 3 really good years in a row, but it felt different when Mace did it because they had been bad for so long.
Terrible, yeah.
Now the best thing that ever happened to Mace was Brew. I mean, it makes his whole tenure by comparison look even better, but I don't know. They're gonna regret this season for a long time.
He won 11 games. The first coach to do that at 100 since 1904. And then I always have to point out, well, one reason for that being they didn't play 11 games until about 1975. So 1976. So the first 70 years of that you're bragging about, they didn't play that many games.
Impossible. Yeah.
Dummies. So anyway, but I got to think, if you sat there and froze your rear end off on Saturday, you didn't leave there too happy.
No, it was, even if you didn't freeze, I don't think you were too happy. Well, let's talk quick Twins. We were both out at the Mall of America on Friday for the big jersey reveal. I thought by and large I liked the designs of a lot of stuff. I'm not really loving the new M with the star logo.
a logo now? Is that our official?
That's one of the logos. Yeah, that's a logo.
Is it just one of them, or is it it? Is that it?
I'm confused about that. I'm not entirely clear. Even when they did the
On
reveal,
the
they had.
hat. They didn't have it on unis, did they? It was just on hats, right?
Yeah, maybe they had it on a sleeve, but yeah, they I think they had it on the hats for sure. But I thought the unis looked pretty good, especially the one Buxton was
Yeah,
wearing.
they're fine, you know.
Expensive though, as you noted.
Oh God Almighty! I was shocked, but at first, let me say, more people showed up than I thought they would.
Yes.
You know, like
Midday Friday at the mall.
there was, but it didn't. It doesn't look to me like the Woodbury crowd that goes to hockey games and doesn't care how much a jersey costs.
Okay.
So I checked it out. I actually heard someone mention this, and I said, "Oh, that can't be true." I checked it out. Twins website, $304 for the new jerseys, and that's without your name on the back. If you want your name on the back, it's like $450. And then somebody told me that the pop-up they had there was like $360 or something.
Wow.
on the scene. What are you doing? What are you doing? I know, I talked to somebody with the Twins, and they said, well, there's very few of these right now because Nike's behind and Major League Baseball is. Well, then maybe you should just not reveal it yet. You should wait till you have some. You shouldn't. I think you charge people that much money, it becomes a negative thing instead of a positive thing for you. The big reveal, but this was a Joe Polad baby, right? By the way,
he was up there.
Well, no, he was the guy he's kind of become the young family member. He's been with the station 15 years or something. But this was all him. We got to refresh our look. We got to refresh our sound. We got to refresh everything. They're trying to meet a younger, I don't think jerseys are going to do it, but they look and see that the baseball demographic is 64 years old or something, and they're trying to make themselves more hip, but the way to make yourself more hip with a 24-year-old guy who's just getting started in his occupation is not to charge him $304 for a jersey. I don't think so. Anyway.
It's also to go win some games, and to that end, they made 2 trades on Friday. I'm keenly aware of that because I was beat writer for a day.
They kept you busy.
They kept me busy up until about 8:30 p.m. Friday night when the Kyle Farmer trade became official. But so the day started with the trade of Urshela, and that wasn't entirely unexpected because you thought they might non-tender him anyway, so they get at least a little something from the Angels for them.
Very little, by the way.
Yeah, it's very little. A class, he's a 19-year-old Class A pitcher, so we'll see whatever comes of that. But then they trade later in the day for Reds infielder Kyle Farmer, who was primarily a shortstop the last 2 years, made 212 starts at shortstop the last 2 seasons, but can play some second and some third. So I guess my question for you is, it seemed like they were really eager to get rid of one of their more professional hitters, although Farmer probably fits the bill reasonably well there. But
would have made $9 or $10 million. So what?
Yeah, Farmer's going to make 6. So
yeah, but Urshel is a $10 million player. Keep him.
Yeah,
Listen, there's a very good chance you're going to get very sick of watching Miranda play third base. Okay, he's a hack, in my opinion, in the field, whether he's playing first or third. He's more familiar with third, but he's not good at third. He's good at hit. That's where he can play.
Yes,
that's it. And by the way, the way you guys get people, what do you want to get rid of a good player for? I get it. You don't have to promise him 500 at bats, but I can guarantee you by the 1st of May, they're going to feel bad that they don't have this guy.
Yes.
Because somebody's going to fail you. But Kyle Farmer is now your opening day shortstop because you're not getting Correa back.
That's what it seems like to me. I mean, I've been going back and forth with some friends, some fans. They're like, yeah, they can still get Correa. I'm like, well, Farmer, yes, he can play other positions, but he's primarily a shortstop, and they just went and trade him. And I know when they got Kiner Falefa, they traded him again right away. But This seems like this is at least their plan, or at least it's a fallback for anything that happens. It does seem like they're done though, at least at that position, doesn't it?
Yeah. They're gonna play him there because the Palacios was terrible, got claimed by somebody, but they don't have anybody. They got Kiki, whatever his name is. He's one of their prospects, but he's a couple of years away. And Royce Lewis, if Royce Lewis is ready to play in June, right?
Yeah.
Then he's got to play another month before you call him up. And then you don't know if he's going to be a shortstop anymore with his
Right.
2 knee surgeries. It's it's a desperate situation in the middle of the infield right now, in my opinion. And what you got to hope is that Blanco's healthy and can play 140 games again like he was before his knee. Now that they said he had tendonitis too, so the good news was Buck ran around. Buxton walked around the stage twice and he didn't get hurt, so that's good.
And he said he's been cleared to run. Got cleared to run on that Friday, so he's
cleared to play center field 120 games. That's what I want to know.
He was, you know what? He got asked about that. He said it was an encouraging sign that he played 93 games last year. Patrick, that was his company line, and he said that was the most I played, and I don't know how long. It's like since 2017. He's right about that.
How many of those were in center field?
Yeah, not enough. 60 something, 68, something like that.
That ain't enough. Ain't enough. I don't know. Let me say this about our 2023 Twins. At this moment, there is no reason for any optimism. None. There is nothing to be optimistic about, in my opinion. The pitching they're going to have more starting options. But you let Ursula go and keep Emilio Pagan. There's something wrong. There's something wrong because Pagan, he's going to end up making what, 6 or 7, and you could add the other guy for 10.
I think they're saying like 3.7 for Pagan, probably.
All right, they don't want to admit they're wrong on that one, right? Wow.
Yeah, I know.
It's it just the PR of being there was kind of fun because it was so overamped and it was easy to make some jokes and stuff, but there's nothing that has occurred in this off season to make you optimistic.
No, they need to go get a couple. They need to go get a couple pitchers to make me optimistic or to make me think, okay, at least they got something figured out.
And they might truly be willing to pay Correa over 200, 230 or something, whatever it is. But he hates right field here, and he looks around. He knows they're not going to win. If you're his point, isn't he going to? If you got some options, aren't you going to go somewhere where you got a better chance to win? I don't know. I don't see where there's a chance to win here for a while. So
no, I don't either. I don't either.
Anyway.
Yeah. Narrative should change in a week with the Vikings and some of these other things. At least the team with the big winning streak now is the Wolves. Maybe we can talk about them. Or even the fans are still upset with the Wolves though because they're not winning the right way. They're still giving up the leads.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I love that. They're giving up leads, but that's the NBA.
It is. Of course it is. Yeah.
Play. You get ahead 20 and then you're ahead 4 and then you still win. That's
yes.
That everybody does that. And look around the NBA right now. A lot of weird stuff going on. Oklahoma City just had a winning streak of about 4 games.
Yeah.
The
Kings.
Utah's a dynasty. The Kings are. It's great for the league. It's great for the league that not every game is predictable as they usually are. They get to play Miami tonight, and they're terrible right now.
Yeah, they got like 6 G League guys on their roster right now.
Yeah. So anyway, NBA, if you hang on and win, or you rally again and win, that's the way it is. There's always comebacks in the NBA. I don't worry that much about that.
No, it looks like Finchie just needs 13 games every year to get things sorted out because they were 4-9 last year before they started sorted it out, and they were 5-8 this year. Now they've won 3 in a row.
The fact D'Angelo hasn't been pathetic helps.
Definitely helps. Definitely helps when a guy making that much money, $30 million, and starting in your starting lineup isn't a complete liability.
Yeah.
All right, Patrick.
Every time he has the ball, scream, "What?" hell are you doing? That's an upgrade with D'Lo. So
All right. Well, I'll let you go get ready for U.S. versus Wales. I'm sure you got a big viewing party going.
yeah, did that thing finally start? Good, thank you. The as I call it, the World Championships of diving on grass. It's fantastic.
Wouldn't be complete without a soccer cheap shot as the U.S. prepares to play at 1 p.m. in the World Cup. Thanks, Patrick.
Goodbye.